Hello everyone, I would like to share some of the processes we use here at A to Z Composites. This project is a skid plate for the 2022 KLR 650. We started with 3D scanning the engine area of the bike. This has been an amazing tool for designing parts and reverse engineering. Before we had access to the 3D scanner, everything was done by hand. Lots of Bondo, sheet wax, and clay. Basically, you had to sculpt a part to make a mold. After the bike is scanned, I designed the part in CAD using the scan to reference for fitment and mounting locations. We always tried to protect the important areas of an off-road motorcycle while keeping the profile as tight as possible. We were able to extend the KLR skid plate much farther toward the back of the bike than the stock skid plate. While it does not cover the rear suspension linkage, it does have a ramp effect that should lighten the impact load on the linkage. Next, I 3D printed a part to check fitment and clearances. This was printed in 6 separate sections and bonded together. Then it's off to the Haas CNC mill. We cut a temporary mold out of 60-pound foam to make the prototype carbon part. Eventually, this mold will be turned into a holding fixture for trimming the skid plates on one of our A-Trump knee mills. Here is the prototype skid plate. You can see the gray silicone pads near the back of the part. These rest against the bottom of the frame under the foot pegs, adding additional shock absorption for impacts. These photos are of the first fit up of the prototype part. Thanks to our 3D scanner, clearances and mounting locations were very successful. After we proved fit of our prototype, we made a male transfer mold. We will then take a female layup mold off this. This is also a master that can be used to recreate our layup mold. So here we are putting base coat on a skid plate PFP, which is a plastic faced plaster cast. Basically a transfer mold. This was taken off of a foam master temporary foam mold that we had made. It was really hard to get a good finish on the foam, so we needed to switch over to doing a laminate. Yeah, so now we're just putting resin on this. We've had two epoxy face coats put on, graphite filled epoxy face coats, and now we're going to cover this with a somewhat thin layer of resin, and then we're going to put a layer of fiberglass on here. Okay, and there we go. The next step, we'll be making a combination of plaster mixed with hemp made into pads, and this will be the backup structure for the PFP. Here you can see me stranding the hemp into the plaster. Kind of a fun job. It's something I've always enjoyed doing. It's basically just a quick way to make a really solid backup structure. So instead of doing a whole bunch of layers of fiberglass, instead of making a fiberglass laminate, you're basically making a fiberglass face and then a really solid backup structure, basically concrete mixed with stranded hemp fiber for structure. It gets done in 2 applications. You basically do 1 layer, about 1 inch thick, and it will generate heat as it's drying out. So you let that first layer kick off, usually overnight, and then you'll come back the next day and do the second application. And put any backup structure, steel backup structure, or feet as you'll see in the next clip here, to support it while it's after it's flipped over. Here we're getting close to being done with the first layer. You can see that it's pretty uniform. It gets a little bit bumpy, but a little bit of practice, you can keep it nice and even. There it is. After the second layer was applied, we've got a bar tied in for lifting and then 3 feet on the thing. So when we flip it over, it'll sit nice and level. Here we are getting ready to pop it. I've already popped the flanges off of it to expose the intersection of both laminates. And if everything works right, they come apart pretty easy. So luckily this one did. There you go. Moment of truth. Get this thing flipped over and see how she looks. Actually ended up turning out to be really nice. Turned out really good. I spent a lot of time prepping the other PFP to make this off of, which really I think pays off in the end. You could do less work and have to do a lot more work on this surface. So yeah, I was pretty happy with the way it looks. Yep, and there is our mold surface. Still have some prep to do. It'll be sanded out with like 400 grit.
This is one of our permanent aluminum compression molds for the KLR shroud covers. This is an avenue that we will pursue in the future for this skid plate. The tooling would be more expensive for us to produce, but this style of mold would make part production far less labor intensive. I'd like to thank everyone for watching this video, and I hope you found it informative. Here at A to Z, we will always strive to produce rock solid parts to protect your bike. Stay safe, enjoy the outdoors, and keep it rubber side down.